right, welcome back to the show. Today, I want to talk about what kind of investor you are, or maybe what kind of investor you want to be. And I think it's something that's not talked enough about, especially when you start getting into real estate investing, whether it's self-storage, single family, multifamily, whatever the case may be, even buying businesses. This can all relate. Before we get into that, I want to thank everybody, and I know I do this pretty much every episode that I do, at least by myself. But I want to thank everybody. I was just before I got on here, I was looking to see what episode number this would be, and it's 119, which is still kind of crazy. It's not a ton in the podcasting world, but to be over 2 years into doing this, I've definitely learned a lot, learned from others, learned from just doing this on my own. Right now I'm talking to a camera and my computer. So it's a world that, I didn't know enough about, didn't know really anything about until I got into it and started practicing, and my practice was real live. So, I appreciate everyone that, if you've listened from the first show or even first few shows to now, greatly appreciate it. Hopefully there's been, hopefully they've gotten better. I feel like they have, but who knows? Maybe not. But appreciate you for tuning in and watching or listening, however you're consuming this. So let's get into it. So what kind of investor are you? And we'll kind of back up into that. And whether you're working a 9 to 5 or you're already, we'll call it financially free or close to being there, or just some type of entrepreneur in the real estate, especially the real estate space, I think you need to figure out what you're looking for. Obviously, we're all looking for money, right? But to simplify this, I made just 2 areas of where you can kind of go. So it's 1, looking for cash flow, predictable cash flow every month, or it's 2, getting large chunks of money. And we'll go into both of those, but I don't know that people look at that before getting into it. And I'll kind of give you some examples of why I'm saying that. But we'll start with what I've done, and you could do both these, right? But for me, getting out of my job, getting out of my 9 to 5, I need predictable cash flow, predictable income every month. Obviously, that's what we're used to for the most part if we're working the 9 to 5. Mine was a little bit less predictable because I was in sales, so it was up and down a little bit. But I wanted predictable cash flow, and it's still up and down a little bit, but it is predictable. I have, I'm sure if you've been paying attention and watching this, I have self-storage facilities. So I have renters paying me every month. Now I have done some equity pops, which is what we're going to get into, the big chunks of money. Those have been more through refis, but we're going to get into that. So 2 options are cash flow and then big equity pops. And we'll start with big equity pops. To me, that's more. So if you're trying to get out of your 9 to 5, or you're already out of your 9 to 5 and you're in real estate investing, you could be doing both these. You could be getting cash flow and big equity pops. We're going to use like just single family as an example. Let's say you're trying to get out of your 9 to 5 and you want to do it as soon as possible. It's probably going to be hard to do that through rental income because, let's say you're lucky and you can make $200 a door. Even if you've got 100 of those, that's quick math. What's that? 20 grand a month? No, that's not right. $2,000 a month. Is that right? I'm losing my mind here. Live math, not good. But it's going to take you a lot of houses to get that cash flow that you need to leave your job, to leave your 9 to 5. If on the other hand, if you're looking for big equity pops, you could buy a fixer upper, and you could rehab it and flip it, and maybe you can make 30, 50 grand on that one house, and maybe you can do that 6 to 10 to 12 times a year, once a month, right? It's more work, it's less predictable, but it's probably going to get you out of your job faster, right? And I think there's a lot of people that, and I'll kind of use a storage space. I think I've seen a lot of people go down that path, especially to start. They don't have money to put in any deals. Okay. So they start with, I'm going to, buy kind of a fixer upper storage deal. We'll use round numbers, buy it for 500 grand, or at least get it under contract. And then maybe they'll wholesale it, or maybe they will, which I'll back up a little bit. Wholesaling is you get a deal under contract and you basically sell the paper to somebody else. So you sell the contract to somebody else, and then you make a fee on top of that. So we'll just say you're going to make 100 grand from that one deal. That's great. And that's really good money. But now you've got to do it again next month, right? And then you got to do it again the following month. Or the other way to do it is kind of like a slow flip. You can buy a storage facility 500 grand. Maybe if you go in there, raise rents, put in fence gate cameras right away, and maybe you can sell it in 3 to 6 months and make, again, let's say 200 grand. Now you're making 200 grand, from that one pop. And let's say that does take 6 months. So 200 grand, 6 months, that's pretty good money. But now you got to do it again, right? Now you got to find another deal and do the same thing again. I've seen a lot of people do that and kind of quit their 9 to 5 before they have the predictable income, right? Or maybe they don't. Maybe they have enough cash reserves to be able to do that. I don't know. But for me, I want the predictable cash flow that I know that's coming in every single month. It's easier to automate. It takes less team members. To me, there's just a lot more benefits in doing that as opposed to the large equity pops. Now, I'm going to go through all the kind of types of big equity pops you could get. So I kind of named some of them already. One is flipping, right? We just kind of went over that with single family rental and storage. 2 is wholesaling, which we went over that, right? Get a piece of property under contract, then you sell the contract to somebody else and you make a spread on it. So you put your fee on top of that. That's another big equity pop. A slow flip, we went over that. Maybe it takes you 6 months, maybe a year. After you fix up the place, you raise rents, whatever you're doing to increase value, and then you sell it. To me, you do all that work, hang on to it, right? Hang on to it. Hang on to the monthly cash flow. Now, if it's not great cash flowing property, then yeah, it may be better to sell that thing. But to me, the longer you hold it, the better, the more predictable your cash flow is. And then the fourth one is refinances, which I've done. So I've done kind of what we said with the slow flip. I went in, improved systems, gate fence cameras, better management, and increased the value of the property and good cash flowing properties. Now I went to the bank and said, okay, you know what? I do have a current loan, but now I've got more equity in this deal. It's worth 2 times as much. So I want to take some of that money out to deploy into other deals so that I can stretch my dead equity further, if that makes sense. Hopefully this is all making sense. It's sometimes it's tough to go through all these things, especially when I'm just talking to a camera, and it makes sense to me. But yeah, that's the 4 type of big equity pops that you can kind of get. Again, for myself, now I'll go back to my single family days. I did sell off 4 single families. I did do a flip. So I've had 5 relatively big equity pops with those. And then I've also done cash out refinances. So I've done some of those, but my main goal is cash flow. I want to keep stacking cash flow every single month. That's what pays the bills. That's what pays me, my family, our team, all those things. It's just more predictable. Now, obviously, you can do both. You can, and I've done a little bit of both at the same time. But I do see a lot of people kind of starting off and just flipping, which is great. But again, it's more work. And while you're doing that, you can't just be focused on that one deal that you're flipping. You got to continue to fill that pipeline, that sales pipeline of leads coming in, or else you're going to get done with that one flip. And guess what? Now you're back to square one looking for deals. So that's where it's, if you're looking for big equity pops and you're more or less flipping, it's just, there's more going on. You need more. It's more work, right? It's probably a little bit more stressful. Now there's people that succeed in both areas, right? I've done a little bit of the big equity pops, so not a ton. I've done more with the cash flow. That's what's worked for me. To me, I will only buy real estate that will cash flow. I'm more conservative. I don't like gambling. I don't like buying a piece of property and hoping it appreciates in value over the course of 5-10 years. I don't want to do that. I want cash flow day one. That's what I'm looking for. To me, that'll get you through any type of ups and downs in the market that we may have. And obviously storage can be a little bit different because it's retail too. Our occupancy goes up and down, but the cash flow should still be there if you're buying right. So that's kind of all I've got. I hope that's helpful. To kind of sum it all up, you got to start with, if you haven't started, you got to figure out what you want to do. Are you trying to collect cash flow, or are you just trying to get out of your job right now? And it's like, okay, let me find, a deal that I can maybe make better in the course of 3 to 6 months and then flip it, or maybe wholesale it to get some quick money in, and then try to buy your own property that you're going to hold in cash flow. But to me, the end game is not the end game, but to become financially free, you have to hold them. You need cash flow. To me, it's just more predictable and safer in the long. So again, that's all I've got. Appreciate you tuning in. Short show today. I know I've had some buddies tell me they like the longer shows just because a 10 looks like we're about 12 minutes while they're walking isn't long enough. So I apologize if you're walking and listening to this. This is only 12 minutes into your walk, but hopefully all this makes sense. Again, to summarize it, think about where you want to go. Think about what you want to do. And you need to know, you need to have that roadmap. Do you want cash flow? Do you want big equity pops? Maybe you want a combination of both, right? And single family sometimes is a little bit easier because you can continue filling that pipeline of rentals that you want to keep, and then ones that you want to wholesale or flip. That's sometimes that's a little bit easier. It's there's more houses to choose from. With storage, there's less facilities. Your pipeline may be a little bit smaller than someone doing single family. So again, appreciate you tuning in. See you guys next time.
Thanks for following, subscribing, and listening to this episode of the Do More podcast hosted by John Farling. To learn more or ask questions, go to l4investing.com.